Lawmakers target child labor laws to ease worker shortage. Now, you see that headline and you go, what? Those despicable politicians are trying to remove child labor laws. We're going to be China. That's what that headline says. That's not what's happening. What's actually going on? Legislators in multiple states are invoking the widespread labor shortage that I talk about every day on the show to push bills that would weaken long-standing child labor laws. Again, you read that paragraph and it sounds awful. We're going to make 10-year-olds work. I'm not going to do it. My kids are going to be allowed to have a childhood. I can already hear it. I can already hear the wussification of America in the response. All right, let's get to real legislation. A new Arkansas line that has been signed by brand new Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders makes it easier for teens as young as 14 to work without obtaining a permit. I do my own sound effects here. That's a slow clap for the legislators in Arkansas and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, that's totally different than the headline and the Axios writer who's trying to drum up drama. 14-year-olds should be allowed to work without obtaining a permit. Why do we need the government's permit? If my 14-year-old wants to work, God bless him, he's going to work. He should be allowed to work. He's 14. Just go crack a history book. 200 years ago, 14-year-olds were getting up at sunup and working their butts off until sundown. And then they worked inside the cabin when it was dark. The laws and proposals have largely been introduced by Republicans, but have received support from some Democrats. Why does hard work have to be a left or right issue? Why does it have to be a Democrat or Republican issue? Why? Why have we allowed politicization of work? Why can't we just crack open a few scientific studies? Why can't we just retreat to the book of common sense and remind ourselves that work and hard work is good for the body and good for the soul? Oh, let me add another thing. Hard work is good for our world because when I work hard and deliver good results, somebody on the other end benefits. Can I get an amen? Why does it have to be Republican and Democrat? Why? Why does it have to be political? It's just good. Legislators say the bills are largely in response to the current hot jobs market, with employers posting an elevated number of openings but struggling to fill positions. This is good policy right here. This is good. You know why? Because 14-year-olds need to make their own freaking money. I'm tired of giving them money. I got two 14-year-olds at home, so shut up with your criticism. I am actually a dad of 14-year-olds, and they always want money. You know what? Go to Publix or Kroger and bag some groceries, Junior. I'm going to watch golf. It's good for 14-year-olds to work. By the way, you as the American people ought to support this. You know why? Because if your 14-year-old is working, bagging groceries, you're not spending your money on them. And then, by the way, they can learn what happens when they burn through their money. Well, I just don't want them to fail. It's the best thing for them. Let them bounce a check. Let them go and put their card in and it get rejected. Oh, that's good for them. Well, Ken, I just don't want my child to be humiliated. It's the best thing for them. Your child needs to be humiliated. Because when they get humiliated because they don't have money in their account, guess what they learn? Wait for it. A lesson. Well, they're 14. 13 is just, they're still developing and they're so sensitive. And I just don't want them to be there in like a 45-year-old guy in the fruit section. I just don't want them to cuss around them or say anything mean because they're just not ready for that yet. They need to be cussed at. They need to have the 45-year-old grumpy man whose life sucks because he works in the Kroger fruit section. They need to see that. So they go, I don't want to be like him. Somebody's going to send me an email about how great that job is. Okay, relax. It's an example. But you know what I mean? Unless he's the manager, I don't think Fred wants to be there. That's why Fred's grumpy. So if Fred is grumpy and hurts your little darling's feelings, you know what happens? Wait for it. It's a lesson. Can I just tell you? My dad made a couple phone calls the summer of my senior year of high school that I was going to be going to school as a college freshman. And he made a couple phone calls because he said, you need a job. I didn't want to work. I was just like every other 17-year-old. I just want to have some fun with my friends, go to the beach a lot. I'll get a job, but I wasn't getting it fast enough. So you know what my dad did? He called and got me a job. You know what the job was? The job was a laborer on a mason crew in Virginia in the summer. That means I had to be on the job site at 7 a.m., at which point I picked up 50-pound bags of mortar and dumped it in a mortar machine. Now, I want to remind you, I weighed 125 pounds at that time. My arms look like twigs. I'd mix the mortar, dump the mortar in a wheelbarrow, and then take that wheelbarrow and move it around the job site systematically and not try to spill it, because if I spilled it, which I did a few times, guess what I had to do? I had to go back to the mortar machine, pick up another 50-pound bag, and make it. I didn't call my dad. Hey, Dad, I just dumped the wheelbarrow because the job site's uneven, and I ran over a half brick, and I dumped the whole thing. What am I going to do? You know what I did? I figured it out. You know why I figured it out? Because I knew that the foreman was going to bust my you-know-what and cuss me up one side and down the other if I didn't have the mortar on the mortar boards when the brick guy showed up. Do you know what I learned that summer? That I never wanted to work in that job the rest of my life, and I was going to do whatever it took to figure out what work I enjoyed, and I was going to figure out how to get good at it, and I was going to bust my butt so that I had options. Good on Ken Coleman Sr. He wasn't worried about all the DUIs that existed on that work crew because I was the only one with a license. He wasn't worried about the dirty stories and the cussing that I heard. You know why? Because my dad knew that I was going to hear that stuff at some point anyway. He had modeled the way for me and taught me how to live, taught me how to talk, and he wasn't worried about the negative. He was worried about me learning how to work hard and make some money. I got to tell you something, parents. Your kids will never do great things until they learn how to do hard things. And we're so worried about our kids experiencing hard things, but we want them to do great things. And I'm here to tell you, the best thing you can do is let your kid work at 12 or 13. Well, you have to get a permit, Ken. I just don't. Who cares? Screw the government. Don't get the work permit. Let him go work for the crusty old man down the street who needs a laborer for his paint crew. And just, well, what about the taxes? Screw the taxes. Let him just learn how to work. You're coming up with all these reasons why your kid shouldn't do hard things. And I got news for you. You keep it up, and your kid may never learn how to do great things. And that's on you, parents. I need a break.